Denike, New York.
Good morning, Mr. Denike. Lucky mode and get us started. Good morning, all you difference makers out there, chief expansion officers of your own companies. Welcome to our Difference Makers Morning Call, embracing all lines of sponsorship within our NAGIC family. We're grateful for this call started by our dear friend and biggest difference maker, Sam Michaels, for the purpose of encouraging us to believe in ourselves and to build a successful NAGIC business. The thoughts, ideas, and expressions on this call are by third-party independent NAGIC distributors. They are not the views of NAGIC USA. For a complete list of rules and compliance matters, please visit nagic.com. Remember, whatever is said pertaining to Kangen water must not be taken as a health or medical claim. We make no such claims. Kangen water does not treat, diagnose, or cure anything. Bodies heal themselves when given the proper tools, and Kangen water simply empowers the immune system, helps the body to remove acid waste, reduce oxidation on a cellular level, and assist the body to do what it's intended to do, which is heal itself. And with that, good morning, Sam. How are you this morning, sir?
Good morning, Wade. I'm doing fantastic, and sound like many of the difference makers are. They may realize we've got two dynamic ladies coming on this morning. Susan is going to get us started just a little bit, and then Lynn's going to take us through to a big Christmas. We're sure of that. So Wade will tell you in a minute. Go ahead and be texting your friends and get them on. And Christmas is going to be here before we know it, and we encourage you to really keep what Christmas is all about in mind. So how are you doing, Wade?
Excellent, sir, man. It's another gorgeous morning in Colorado, and just getting fired up and ready. And, man, I am super excited about today. That's good to have Susan come on this morning. Susan's a good friend of mine, and I miss her. Don't talk enough. And then Lynn, hello. I wait every day of the month for this month, guys. If you don't have your difference makers, if you're not all on, call your friends, text your buddies, text everybody, let them know that Lynn's on. I want to fill this line. Always one of the best calls of the month. So thank you. All right, Sam.
I agree, Wade. Lynn always has such a unique, powerful perspective, and same with Susan when she comes on and gets us started. And Beth, we still get reviews about Beth coming on the first Wednesday and what she had to say. So it's exciting to have more and more difference makers speaking up, making a difference with their call and all. So is Susan on yet, Wade?
Yeah, she was on. Go ahead, Susan, raise your hand, honey. And,
okay, back over to you, Wade, and I've got my pencil ready and ready to listen to all this great information. Good morning to all you difference makers as you continue to soar along making a difference. Thanks.
Right. All right. Thanks, Sam. All right, Susan. Good morning, Susan. How are you doing, honey?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate that, and I'm very honored to be on the call.
We're honored to have you, honey. I'm super excited that you're going this morning, so I'm just going to turn it over to you to get us fired up.
All righty. Well, and that's a little bit scary to be on the same day as Lynn. She always has such an awesome message for us. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about a book that John Maxwell wrote. I had not seen it before, but it's absolutely incredible. It's called The Difference Maker, Making Your Attitude Your Greatest Asset. And in the book, he just talks about how our attitude is our greatest difference maker in your life. Of course, we all think Sam is our biggest difference maker, and he is, but John Maxwell says it's our attitude. So if we tweak our attitude, that'll make the greatest difference in our life. And I think it's like we're preaching to the choir here because all the people on this call, we're all so lucky to have each other and join each morning. It's a great way to start our attitude adjustment every single day. So anyway, I still think we're in need with a little bit of help once in a while, and at least I know I need some work on my attitude. So I'm going to share a bit of John Maxwell's words. So this is titled How to Make Your Attitude Your Greatest Asset. Former Yankee and Hall of Fame baseball player Yogi Berra has often been quoted as saying, "Life is like baseball. It's 95% mental, and the other half is physical." The former catcher and manager's math may not be perfect, but he does understand the power that thinking has on a person's ability to succeed. How many jobs do people lose every day because of attitude issues? How many times are others passed over for promotion because of the way they approach their job and other people? How many marriages fall apart? It would be impossible to calculate. And think about how many water sales, or water machine sales do we lose because of our attitude? Just think about that. I know for me it'd be staggering. No one should ever lose a job or miss a promotion or destroy a marriage because of a poor attitude. And why is that? It's because a person's attitude is not set. It is a choice. It's a choice that we make every single day. So attitude to me is more important than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It's more important than appearance or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, or a home. The remarkable thing is that we have a choice every day regarding the attitude that we embrace for that day. We can't change our past. We can't change the fact that people act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I'm convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so we are all in charge of our own attitudes. The first thing he talks about is taking responsibility for your attitude. Roberta Flack recalls, my mother had only gone as far as the 10th grade. My father had a 3rd grade education, but they were both very literate. They spoke well and had high values. They drummed into our heads that the situation you live in doesn't have to live in you. Our attitudes don't come from our circumstances or personal history. Attitude does not come from outside ourselves. It comes from within. And that kind of reminds me of Nakima's story. That was so awesome to hear where she had come from and seeing where she is now. That was just made me picture her right there. So the first rule of winning is don't beat yourself up. If your attitude isn't as good as it could be and you fail to take responsibility for it, then you're beating yourself. However, if you look in the mirror and can honestly say that attitude I possess is my responsibility and no one else's, then you're on your way. The next thing he says is to evaluate your present attitude. To improve your attitude, you need to assess where you're starting from. This may take some time, and depending on how self-aware you are, it may even be difficult. The key is to look at yourself objectively, to separate yourself from your attitude. Your goal isn't to condemn yourself. It's to see yourself clearly so that you can make positive changes to the way you think. Here's how to proceed. First, you identify problem feelings about yourself. Many times our feelings come into play long before we are consciously aware of them intellectually. So let's start with feelings. When do you feel the most negative about yourself? So write down your answers. Then identify problem feelings related to others. Attitude often relates to other people. What causes you the greatest problems when dealing with other people? Once again, write down your answers. And then identify problem thinking. We are the sum of our thoughts, and we cannot, for any length of time, behave in a way that is consistent with our thinking. So the question you must answer is this: what negative thoughts consistently control your mind? Write them down. If you simply went through these questions without actually taking the time to think them through and write down the answers, I want to encourage you to do so, because you will not be able to change your attitude for the better unless you know what is currently impacting it for the worse. When professional loggers are floating logs down a river and they discover a log jam, they climb a large tree in the river to see what problem is and where to find the cause. What they're looking for is that key log that is creating the problem. Once they remove that, the river takes care of the rest. An inexperienced person could spend hours, days, or even weeks moving logs around without results. Your attitude may be similar. You don't necessarily need to change all of your thinking, just a few items that are keeping a positive attitude from flowing in you. The next thing is to develop the desire to change. The desire to change is the key to growth in all areas of life. Ironically, most people desire improvement, yet at the same time, they resist change. The problem is that you cannot get one without having the other. Change is possible, but only if you want it badly enough. As Fred Smith observed, you are the way you are because that's the way you want to be. If you really wanted to be any different, you'd be in the process of changing right now. Of course, change is never easy. It takes a lot of time, energy, and perseverance, and of course, desire. It's not a decision you make once and forget about it. You have to cultivate that desire every single day. If you want to change your attitude, you need to ask yourself a similar question. Are you going to keep working and trying to get better, or is this as good as you're going to get? The next thing is to change your attitude by changing your thoughts. Norman Vincent Peale, author of Power of the Plus Factor, wrote that he once came across a tattoo studio in the twisted streets in Hong Kong. In the window were drawings of the hundreds of choices of tattoos available from the artists who worked there. One of them really struck him, and it said, "Born to Lose." And so Peale was appalled that anybody would tattoo that on themselves, and he asked the artist, does anyone really have that "Born to Lose" tattooed on their body? And the artist said yes. But he also mentioned that before it's on your body, the tattoo is on your mind. The human mind has a tremendous amount of power in our lives. That which holds our attention determines our actions. Because of that, where we are today is the result of the dominating thoughts in our minds, and the way we think determines what our attitudes are. But as I've already said, the good news is that you and I can change it. You can control your thoughts, and because of that, you can control your attitude. Let's do an experiment that I will show you what I mean. First, take a moment to think about the place where you live. You decided to think about it, and you did, okay? So now I want you to think of something else. Imagine for a moment that the place where you live has burned to the ground and everything in it is gone. What kind of emotional response did you have? Were you sad, maybe because your irreplaceable things would have been lost? Or maybe you were happy because your current living situation is terrible and a fresh start would be great. The point is that your thinking prompts your emotion, and here's why. Major premise is that we can control our thoughts. Minor premise is that our feelings come from our thoughts, and therefore we can control our feelings by changing the way we think. So why is that important? Because your attitude is your emotional approach to life. It's the framework through which you see events, other people, even yourself. That's why I believe the saying, you are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. The sales trainer Brian Azar says, sales are not made or unmade inside the prospect's office. They are made or unmade inside you. In sales, if your attitude is positive and you believe you can help the prospect with your product or service, then the most difficult work is already done. It all depends on your thinking. The same thing works in other professions too. And that's kind of like what we were talking about yesterday, the beliefs and value system. If you believe you're helping somebody enough, it's not a sales process. It's all in your mind how that plays out. So once, while flipping through a copy of ESPN's magazine, I saw an Adidas ad that arrested my attention. Here's what it said. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. It's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration. It's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. And impossible is nothing. Most of the great work done in this world was done by men and women who didn't believe that what they were doing was impossible. Talent is certainly beneficial, but only the right attitude can release it to its potential. Much of what we do every day comes from habitual behaviors. Over the course of time, we have developed a way of approaching life. We treat people a particular way. If we desire to get different results from our lives, then it's not enough to change only our thinking. we need to change our habits. Otherwise, we'll revert back to our old thinking. The next thing he talks about is to manage your attitude daily. One of the most significant discoveries of my life was realizing that we often place too much emphasis on making decisions and too little on managing decisions we've made already. The discovery was so significant that he wrote a book about Today Matters. The thesis of the book is that successful people make right decisions early and manage those decisions every single day. You can make a decision to have a good attitude, but if you don't make plans to manage that decision every day, then you're likely to end up right back where you started. So, in closing with what John Maxwell says, you need to manage your thinking and direct your actions so that they are consistent with your decision. If you take responsibility for your attitude, recognizing that it can change how you live, managing it every day, and cultivating and developing positive thoughts and habits, then you can make your own attitude your greatest asset. It can become the difference maker in your life, opening doors and helping you overcome obstacles. So think about your own life. When you're thinking about your attitude, has there been a time when just a little bit of changing your attitude may have changed the outcome of that situation? And I'm going to share just a real quick story about how I had an opportunity to use that in my own personal life, and maybe some of you can relate to that. But a couple of years ago, my husband was really, really sick, and I got the call that many people have gotten, you need to get your affairs in order. He's probably not going to survive this, and you need to have the family gathered up. And that day, I had to make a huge choice. Am I going to have the attitude of defeat? Okay, let's have the family meeting. Let's get things in order and plan for him to not be in our life. Or do I take the attitude of I'm not going to give up? And so after a little while of trying to decide what to do, I made a call, and I called Bob Wright, author of Killing Cancer, Not People, and I told him the situation and said, what would you do, or what do I do? And he got me hooked up with the clinic. And so the following day we had a consultation. Within 24 hours we were in the car on our way, and we spent the next 2 weeks in a clinic in Seattle getting very, very intensive help for my husband's illness. And we knew after 2 weeks we had saved his life. And the thing is, and why I share this is not because I want you to think I'm great, but this is stuff that I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are faced with that decision every single day. And there's a lot of us that are working with those people, in what we do and trying to help people feel better and stuff. We're seeing more people like that. So anyway, you just think, instead of giving up, I made one more call, I tried one more thing, and I reached out and I got some help. Many people in that situation would have admitted or taken the attitude of defeat and, it is what it is, and let's get our affairs in order. So you think about just a little bit of tweaking of your attitude every single day. It could propel you to places you would never imagine. Now, not only is my husband well, but my water store became a full wellness center. I teach now what I learned through that process, and it's changed our lives tremendously. But the sad part is I see people every single day. They come in for help. They ask what we did, and when we told them what we did, they'll say, I can't do that, or I'm not willing to do that, and it just makes me sad for them because there's things that people can do if they just flip the switch and make a different decision. So anyway, I know we're all anxious to get Lynn on, so that's my 2 cents for the day. Hope it was helpful.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for coming on this morning, and man, I just appreciate you bringing out your own truth, and Isn't it amazing? Our attitude will change everything and can change everything. And so thank you so much, Susan. We appreciate you, honey. Man, I am super, super excited to have Lynn this morning, guys. I don't know about you guys, but I'll tell you, this is truly one of my favorite days of the month, one of my favorite callers. So, Lynn, I am so excited to have you on this morning. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, man, I couldn't be better if I tried. And I just want to thank Susan for that message. That was so powerful and so timely for me because I'm dealing with somebody right now, a very close family friend. And, you know, I just had this conversation about how you can't quit fighting. And until it's over, it ain't over. And every day is so precious. So thank you so much for that. You are a hard act to follow. And it's so good to be with you guys again. It's just like shake my head. And another month has passed by and another year, really. We're here at the end of the year. And this is my last time to be with you this year. It's like time passes by so quickly. You know, I just celebrated my 60th birthday. It was actually yesterday, but we celebrated over the weekend. My kids, you know, threw a big party for me. I'm just so spoiled rotten, no doubt about that. But, you know, of all the things that surrounded this birthday, the greatest gift of all, the priceless one, the one I'll treasure the most for as long as I live, was time with my family and friends. You know, some people traveled far and wide. We had snow coming down. Some people had a lot more snow from their starting point, and they made it here. Some of them I've known just a few years, the last few years of my life, and others I've known for over 30 years. The precious gift of their time, it's priceless, and it's an indicator of how I've spent my time with them over the years. I am so incredibly blessed. You know, in some ways I feel like I'm second place to Methuselah. In some ways I feel like it was just yesterday that I was a child, and then I was a mom, and now I'm a grandma, and now I know with certainty I'm on the backside of life, right? And that's a big wow. You know, we're in the midst of a beautiful season of the year, and then I know Sam knows me well, so he knows where I'm going with this, but it's a beautiful season of year. It's a time set aside for the celebration of the birth of our Savior, and that is absolutely something to celebrate. And I mean this with no disrespect at all, but I celebrate my Savior all year long. You know, I enjoy the festivities of this time of year, but it's not just about Christmas Day for me. There's not a day that goes by that I don't give thanks for that gift. And so when I approach this time of year, my focus is more of a time of reflection. You know, I look back beyond the festivities themselves, and I just try to ponder, what have I done with this year with my Savior in mind? You see, it's when we understand how precious time really is, and we couple that with an understanding that we're on a big mission in more ways than one, by the way, that we learn to consider how we spent the time that we've been given. You know, I think about, you know, how many lives that I touched this year. You know, how many people did I encourage along the way? How many people did I fail to reach? I mean, that one really bothers me in more ways than one. How many people did I recruit, you know, into my world, into my faith, into my business? How did I spend my time? And I reflect on that every year, and it's worth doing, by the way. Time, it's our most precious possession, and yet it's the one thing that we squander more than anything else in life. It's the most precious gift that we can give to another person, and yet it's that one thing we rarely give enough of, or we abuse the time we give. You know, some people value time more than others. And if you want to see what valuing time really looks like, we just heard of an example of that, right? Look into the eyes, to the lives of someone who has faced their own mortality. Somebody like Sam Michaels, who looked at death in the eyes, kept fighting, and won. You know, these people understand the precious nature of time. But what about the rest of us? What if we haven't faced those things? How are we spending our time? You know, it's one of those things that has the most value when we give it away, and yet we hoard it. Sometimes we give it away for good. Sometimes we give it away for useless. And lots of times we don't think twice about the time at all until it runs out. You know, one day seems to kind of blend into another day, and 1 year, another year, and we're always going to do something tomorrow that we really could have already done today. And if we don't give time, quality time throughout our life in every area of our life, we lose. You know, if we don't give time to our children, we see the pain of the result of that lack of time in our decisions forever. No amount of toys or electronics or sports activities or music lessons or tutoring or anything else that people today strive to give their children ever comes close to the gift of time. You know, my kids are grown now, and I've got some grandkids, and, you know, that they'll comment on the fact that here I was, a single mom, the sole provider, you know, the chief everything in my family, and yet they remember me tucking them in at night, reading them a book, and they say, Mom, you must have been so tired. Of course I was tired, but even though I was single and I had all this responsibility, I understood that the most precious gift I could ever give them is the time. I was tired at the end of the day, just like you guys are. You got to be kidding me. Four kids, and I'm working to provide for them, and I'm going crazy. I was exhausted some of those nights. Sometimes I'd fall asleep reading the book to them, right? But I gave them my time. You know, one of the things that I like to do personal things as gift for my family, and one of the things that I decided to do this year is I've taken all the family movies and I'm converting them to digital format, giving them a copy of it, right? And I can't sit there and watch hours of movies. You see it on the screen as you're converting it, you know. But once in a while, as I'm checking on it, I'll look at these times and I think, wow, thank you, God, that I had the wisdom to give the time. The investment of my time paid off. And you know what? Today they give me theirs to me. You know, you might see kids squeal over a Christmas present, and they'll forget about that present in no time at all. But they will never forget the time we give them. And it's the time of you, your quality time, that's the greatest gift of all. You guys may have heard me mention this before, but I remember when my mother was in a nursing home and her time was very near, and I was visiting that home often. And as I passed through the hallways, I would see the same people wheeled out into the hall, you know, and I became a familiar face to them. And I think they looked forward to seeing me, and I'd stop for just a minute, you know, and talk to each one of them. And one day as I commented on how sad it was that I never saw anybody visiting them, the head nurse set me straight. She said something I will never forget. She said, you die the way you live. If they had nurtured relationships along the way, they wouldn't be alone now. And frankly, she said, P.S., they're the most difficult people to care for. They're the selfish ones. Boy, I'll tell you, think about that. You know, how these people died the way they live. And that should scare anybody to think twice about the way they live. I've never forgotten those words. You know, I looked into their rooms after she said that, and there wasn't any indication of a life at all. There wasn't a family picture, no personal items, no reminder of life at all. Time. It's not how much we have. It's what we do with how much we have. You know, we've all heard remarkable stories about young people, children, unfortunately, that pass through this life so quickly, such a brief life, and yet they had incredible impact on their world, you know, in just a few short years. You know, despite the fact that they may have only had, you know, 5 or 10 years, while the rest of us may have decades or more, they managed to use that time. They touched lives and made a big difference in a big way, and they'll be remembered forever because of it. Time. It's not how much we have. It's what we do with the time we have. If you put quality time into your relationship with your significant other, if you don't ever nurture that, you're nothing more than roommates with commingled funds. If you're not careful, you'll lose that relationship. You've got to put the time in. You know, in just a few past weeks, I have learned of people in my, you know, circle locally, married for 30 plus years, several couples that have recently filed for divorce. Why? It really doesn't have anything at all to do with love. It has everything to do with how they spent their time, or they didn't spend their time. Did they offer each other quality time to nurture a relationship that it takes to nurture that year after year? If you don't put quality time into your faith, you stunt your growth. You know, if there isn't enough faith within you, there's not enough to pass around to the people who need to hear about it. You know, relationships need to be pruned and watered, and it takes time to do that, whether it's a relationship with Christ or your significant other or your children or any place else, you know. But we don't like giving up our most precious gift necessarily, do we? We're very selfish in nature, you know, but we're at a time of year that's difficult for so many people. Some because they lost a loved one this year. This will be the first holiday that they'll be spending without that person in their lives. It's a painful time. Some because they can't afford a holiday meal. They can't afford to buy a little toy for a child. And some because they have no home. Maybe they were stricken by tragedies of hurricanes and fires and things that we read about, or maybe just, you know, they've just suffered an economic, you know, disaster. Who knows? But they won't have a holiday meal to join in on. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine. We actually got a very heated conversation because she shared with me that one of her family members wanted to invite another couple who had, gone through some tough times to their Christmas dinner. But the rest of the family adamantly refused because they said, it's our time. We don't have to share our holidays. We don't want to share our holidays time. It's not how much we have. It's how much we do with what we have. And so what does this have to do with business? Well, it really has everything to do with business. If you claim that you want a business and you desire to fulfill your goals or to accomplish your why, then it's not possible to do without putting in the quality time, not just the time. Every successful person on the planet that you'll ever hear about, read about, or get to know knows how to spend their time. They understand that that's their most precious thing to have, and they know how to dedicate it. They understand that it needs to be directed toward results. It doesn't just happen, guys. They understand that you might see some of them and look at them as being selfish people. Maybe you see them being arrogant or whatever, selfish or whatever. But, from where you're sitting. But they don't hoard their time when it comes to being successful. They give it away freely because it's the most precious thing they can give, the biggest investment they can make in their success. They put in lots of time, but more importantly, they put in quality time. As a person of faith, I know that my job description, if you will, is, and I know with absolute certainty that my time is not my own. I've been given instructions to share what I know with as many people as I possibly can, as long as there's breath in my body. I share one by one, giving quality time. I plant seeds, and I keep moving. So that, I can go on to share with as many people as possible. I plant the seeds, I check their pulse, I give them some food for thought, I ask the right questions, and you know what? If they don't want to hear what I have to share, I do what I'm instructed to do. I kick the dust off my feet and I keep moving. And, some people might think, well, that's not very compassionate, but that's the part we have so much trouble with, We struggle with, do we leave people behind? They need what we have. We've got water, we've got hope, we've got a financial picture, a physical picture, a peace of mind picture. What if we need to talk to them and drive them crazy till they understand? No, we don't. We get caught up in compassion mode, and we do everything but adopt them, and take them home with us. Compassion has to do with the quality time, what your focus is, not the quantity of time. For me, it's not a whole lot different in our business as it is with my faith. If we want to finish this race a winner, then we need to reach as many people as we possibly can. We need to plant the seeds, check the pulse, give them some food for thought, ask the right questions, and if they don't want to hear what we have to share, kick the dust off and keep moving. When you read, that's a biblical principle, by the way. When you study that, back in the day when they kicked the dust off, it wasn't a matter of just kind of keep moving. It was almost a matter of just like leaving the dirt behind. And that's the only way that we can reach the masses in our business, guys, is if we learn that our time is precious and that we give quality time, but we cannot adopt people and make them think what we think. It's not how much time you have. It's what you do with the time that you have that matters. And as I was thinking through this message today, I was reminded of people in my life. My life crossed their life, and I took them. I've ministered a lot to single moms, over the years, and I took a couple of them under my wing, and I determined to make their life different. I determined to be an example. Come alongside me and walk with me. I spent months and months, maybe even years with a few of them. I gave them the most precious thing I have to give. I gave them my time. I nurtured and I shared, and I tried to push them along, and I did my best to inspire them toward a changed life. But you know what? Eventually I moved on. Why? Because in spite of all that I gave them, a place to live sometimes, resources, financial resources, spiritual resources, advice and wisdom, love and quality time, nothing ever changed. And you know what? I look at it now, years later, it still hasn't. They're still in the same rut that they were during our time together. And they may have liked the attention I gave them, and some people you're dealing with in business, that's what they're all about, right? But they had no desire to change. I gave quality time to people who couldn't care less about what I was attempting to do for them. And the most important message here is that all the time I squandered on them could have been given to a whole lot of other people who actually wanted to change and who were teachable. The same is true for us in this journey, folks. You know, how much of your most precious gift do you give to other people trying to convince them of what you have? How much time do you spend giving them more and more to read, to think about, more and more science, more and more water you pour on them, when all the while they're just enjoying the attention you're giving them, but they have no desire to change? It looks compassionate sometimes when you're sitting where you are, and it looks compassionate to move in with them, basically, and to do everything but adopt them. But the same is true for most of us, most of the time with our faith. The ones that get it, they get it fast. They don't have to be convinced. You don't stand there forever. You don't have to adopt them for years, and you don't need to give your most precious gift for very long at all. They buy in and they want in. Same is true for the business. You may have trouble thinking about kicking the dust off your feet and moving on. And sometimes I get criticized for that. People see me as this tough businesswoman, and when I say these things, they say, well, all you think about is money. Oh, no, it's a biblical principle. I plant the seeds, and when they don't root right away, it is a compassionate thing to move on, because I'm missing out on so many other people that need to hear about what I have. Every bit of time you give to someone who may never buy in or get in is time that you steal from another person. There's a world full of people who need what we have. Every single person you rub elbows with in the store, in the church, at a service station, it doesn't matter. Every single person that quote unquote, online, everybody needs what we have. There's some component to what we have that they need. So why are we squandering our most precious gift and giving away to people that have no interest at all? Again, I think a lot of it has to do with that compassion part of what we do. It's hard to separate that for some people, It's hard to separate in our business and in our faith. I've given you a great example of my past, where compassion had me just take so much of my most precious gift and spend months and sometimes years, and it didn't make a difference at all. We have to be mindful of the time that we have. Our days are allotted. We only have a certain amount of them, and we've got to use them with quality. When it comes to faith, we're instructed to kick the dust off our feet and move on. So from where I'm sitting, those instructions came from the most compassionate of all, and so it's certainly going to work in every area of my life. So how are you spending your time? Is it purposeful time? With everything, by the way. I'm talking about your relationships, with your children, with your faith, with your business. Is it purposeful time? Is it driven time? Is it planned time? And most of all, is it quality time? You plug them into, sometimes it's so hard. We want to plug people into this and that, and, we really want to put them on autopilot. It's a lot like people do with their children. Just plug and play, right? Put them in, here, watch a video, watch my phone while I cook dinner. We just plug them into something to listen to or to watch or whatever, throw things at them here and there while we fail to put in the quality part, right? So if you can answer that, then you know that you can't get from one place to another without the quality time. If you're serious about building a business, it all begins with not just your time, but the quality time. I had a call, this goes back some time now, but a woman called me and she was so desperate to get her business going, and she didn't really have, mentoring and leadership in her life. I got her in the right direction there, but I can't remember now. It was ridiculous. It was like 60 or 70 or 80 people she had shared water with throughout that year. And most of us never even give away to 60, 70, 80 people, and all this time, much less a year. And you know what? She'd never sold a unit. So clearly she was doing a lot of that spinning of her wheels. The quality part hadn't kicked in. But, if we're serious about building the business, it begins with quality time, not quantity of time. Quality time to learn. Quality time, frankly, to listen. A lot of us get real good about talking, and we want to bury them in science, and we never shut up long enough to ask a question. Quality time to listen to them, what's going on in their lives. And if you learn to do more than just talk, and if you learn to listen, you will be amazed at what you pick up about someone's life, not just for this business, but where are the holes in their life? What do they need? How can you really extend compassion that will last an entire lifetime? Quality time to work on your character. You do that day after day on these calls, and hopefully you're reading some of the books that we hear about, and you're putting the time in for your character. Because guess what, folks? If you won't put time into you, you're never going to grow you. Quality time to spend around other people who are already making this work. You know, we see that when we want to build our faith, we make sure that we hang out with people of faith. So we learn how to be better at sharing what we have. You know, you've got to put quality time in with other people who are already making it work. Maybe that's local to you. Maybe you're calling in and you say, well, there's nobody around me. Well, you know what? We're on a phone now. We have technology. There's a way for you to connect and spend time with people who are already making it work. I'll tell you one thing. As you listen to leadership out there, you know, people talk about on these calls or talk about the business or whatever, you will never hear them talk about how they spent weeks trying to recruit this person or months and months giving away water. You don't hear it. They're so excited, and they keep moving. And you know what? If people don't get what they have, they kick the dust off and they keep moving. They're a prime example of what I'm talking about today. You know, we have to spend quality time, and we have to spend quality time with lots and lots of people if we're going to make a difference. Make a difference in life before you take your last breath. Make a difference in your business. It takes the masses. It's not how much time we have. It's what we do with the time that matters. So what will you spend your most precious gift on in this coming year? You know, will you hoard it for yourself? Will you make sure that you take care of yourself and whatever that is? You know, I believe in taking care of ourselves, okay? And I believe that we need to love ourselves and forgive ourselves and a lot of things that we talk about. But I think that we spend a season of life, you know, teaching people that they're the most important people in their world. And frankly, folks, that's not true. So we spend a lot of time nurturing ourselves. You know, we got to get our nails done, our hair done, we go off course, and we get our massage and do all these things that we hoard for ourselves, and yet we squander away our time and don't give it away. The most precious thing you can give is your time. So will you continue to waste it? Will you define what quality time really looks like and start giving away that most precious gift to the masses and who need what you have? Or will you maybe end next year the same way it's ending for most of us this year? Whether it's faith or it's business, or for me, the mission is one, frankly. I really feel like I'm in a ministry with a comp plan the way I work my business. But, you know, whether it's faith or your business, it's time to reach the masses with quality time. And it's time to learn how to kick the dust off your feet and keep moving if they're not listening. It's time to actually change lives instead of just talking about changing lives. You know, if we buy into the company and the mission and all the things we stand for, we actually have to do something to help change as many lives as possible. Time is of the essence for all of us. You know, maybe not everybody on this call looks at their life the way I look at mine, you know, but I know that I'm on the backside. I think I got a lot of good, healthy, strong years left, but I'm on the backside of life. You know, our days are already numbered. And as for me, I recognize that where I am in life. And I can tell you one thing, I may be 60. I have never been more driven or walked with more purpose than I do today. Yeah, retirement? Never. First of all, I don't think it's even biblical to think you're going to retire. I think we're on a mission. I think we're here for a purpose. So when does that end? It ends when you end, right? So when you have a purpose, you never retire, no matter how much money you have. So in closing, will you take some of that precious time of yours and carefully consider what quality time looks like and carefully consider how you can give away some of that precious gift of all to people in this coming year? You know, to your family. Maybe you've been busy. Maybe you've overlooked the need to really nurture a family. You know, it's not enough that you just exist and everybody's healthy today. You need to nurture that and plant seeds. You know, will you give that most precious thing you have to your significant other? Will you slow down long enough to nurture that relationship and do what you can to remove a risk that even after 30 or 40 years, it could be ending if you don't nurture it? Will you give some of that precious time to your faith? You know, will you learn to be a bigger, better, broader part of you so that you have more to share with the world? And in terms of all of us on the call today, how about your business? You know, will you give that precious part of your time to your business with focus and on a mission? And that doesn't mean working like a hamster on a wheel. It means working with a purpose and understanding my time is precious, and if you're not going to listen to me, if you don't want what I have, there are plenty of other people that do. So I don't want you to end the coming year, you know, with lost goals and not accomplishing what you're set out to do. And most importantly, I don't want to hear about you ending this next year not accomplishing your purpose in this life. You know, my desire is for you to take this time throughout the precious time of year that we have, and beyond the festivities and beyond the celebration and beyond the lights and the trees, and consider your time the most precious gift that you have to give, and the one that grows in value the more you give it away. When you give it away, be sure it's quality, in and out of your business, in and out of your family. And, again, as I celebrate this time in my life, the 60th year, my kids commented on the people that came far and wide, to celebrate my life with me. That doesn't just happen, guys. You've got to nurture and give quality. Give yourself the most precious thing that you have to give. You give it away to your family, to your friends, to your faith, and to your business. So that's my desire for you. I wish you Merry Christmas. That's it for me, Wade.
Wow. Man, this is another all-time classic. I'm telling you. I love this. You die the way you live.
Yes.
And I love that. I mean, I wrote that down. I'm telling you, that's another one that's going to go up on the wall.
Yes.
Just incredible. Lynn, thank you so much. You are so precious to us. We so appreciate your time.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, it's a precious gift I can give freely, and I love to give my time to you, but it's my honor, believe me. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Well, I have a couple difference makers that I know you touch their hearts. Their hands are up. Can we take a couple questions? All right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to John. Good morning, John. How are you this morning, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful, Wade. Thank you. How's everybody out there? How are you doing today?
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Thanks.
Great. This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Lynn. Your messages are always right on target and so inspirational. I just wanted to piggyback on this and let everybody know that we're not in the convincing business. I spend a lot of time trying to convince people and make them understand what we have, and it's not the way things should be. I recently learned something from a little mentor of mine, that I'm not going to be working with people who need my help. I'm going to be working with people who want my help.
Right.
Life is just way too short, and there are so many people out there that do want our help and do need our help. So the universe responds to deserve, not to need. So that's just one thing I wanted to throw in there, and wish you, Lynn, a wonderful, happy holiday season, and thanks for all your love that you give to us.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. And yeah, you bring up such a good point. Thank you for piggybacking on that, because that is so true. And if we can just never forget that the time we spend trying to convince people is time stolen from people who need it. I mean, that's a very compelling thought. So I hope that resonates with everybody. The time you squander with people that don't want to listen, kick the dust off, because there's way too many people who need what you have or want it.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Deborah. Hey, Deborah, how are you this morning?
Hi, guys. I'm wonderful. Lynn, I just can't tell you. I miss you when I don't hear you. And I just want to wish you a belated happy birthday, by the way. And
Thank
at
you.
the same time, you're welcome. There's the whole thing about time. And I think about, especially for many of us who have family and friends that did support us, but then those that we know need what we have and they don't listen. You just keep thinking, okay, if I can reach out, why do I have this gift, God, and I can't reach these people? But you're absolutely right. It's time to dust our feet off and keep moving on. And I thank you for that today.
It really is.
Such a blessing.
Thank
you guys have an amazing day. Merry Christmas, Lynn. We'll talk to you later. Thank you for your time.
Okay, honey, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. You're always such an encourager. You really are gifted that way, and I appreciate you. And you're so right. I mean, we just it's troubling. And by the way, guys, this thought of squandering time was just as prevalent in my mind in my 30s as it is my 60s, okay? I've always valued that time. I've always looked at the precious nature of time, and I guess that's just a God-given gift. But, there are so many people, I think about the family that said, no way, we don't want to share a table with somebody else. Oh, my goodness. Think about that. Think about that. It's not about you. It's not about how pretty your table looks to entertain people you already know and love and already have what you have. It's about that compassionate side, And so thank you for that. You're a sweetheart.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's go to Doc Moore. Hey, Doc.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Everybody, I want to wish everybody have a Merry Christmas while I'm thinking about it.
Merry Christmas.
Lynn, that was great. And, you know, it's all about people, and it's all about helping people. And if we make that our purpose, and we ask the right questions, and we listen, and we find out whether or not they have a need or if they have any desire to change, then we don't necessarily, and they decided no, they don't want to make a change. It doesn't necessarily mean no. It means not now.
Exactly.
And if we do it right, they're more likely to call us back later and say, yeah, now I'm ready.
Exactly. And it happens all the time. Because you're right. It's like even with faith, you know, we plant the seed, check their pulse, do all those things, ask the right questions, right? But we don't forget them. I mean, I still touch them once in a while, you know, with the business, same thing. We still, I haven't forgotten you. It's not like you became my enemy because you didn't want what I have. But you're right. If we do it the right way, we do it with compassion, you know, and do it with excellence, and we drip them, so to speak, in the business or in our faith, we planted a seed, and that seed's liable to take root. It's never going to take root if we don't do it. And also, you know, it's interesting to think about what we do in all areas of life needs to be duplicatable, right, in our business and certainly, you know, in our faith. Well, when it comes to business, I mean, how duplicatable is that? Do people, not everybody in your world is going to want to adopt everybody and spend months and months trying to hammer them into making a decision. That's not duplicatable. Nobody wants to do that. I shouldn't say nobody. Most people don't want to do it. And same thing with our faith. You're never taught. If you ever looked at evangelism, for instance, you're not taught, well, just stay there and move in and don't shut up and hammer them with your Bible and make them believe. You're never taught that. And so we have to remember that it has to be duplicatable. And duplicatable is to extend compassion, ask the questions, check their pulse, do whatever, and then you kick the dust off and keep moving. That's duplicatable.
That's so good.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. I appreciate you, buddy. Let's go to
thank you, Doc.
Let's go to James. Hey, James in Connecticut.
Hi, Wade, and hi, Lynn.
Hi, James.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, excellent call, Lynn. You have a very familiar voice, and it was awesome what you said. So what I wanted to know is I have taken this whole for 3 years, I called every night on different projects that I was on, different businesses. I haven't really done much for Enagic. I am totally just every day I love it more and more, the machine and the water and what it does. I'm wondering, I'm going to get back into calling before the year's over. How many times are you calling people back? Or are you making this decision that they're not interested or, you know, on the first call and then move on?
Well, I think everybody would give you a different answer. You know, for me, I just kind of evaluate what I think the interest level is, and then I put a reminder system for myself to reach out and touch them. Sometimes, you know, you're going to keep going back for an appointment, zero back in and try to close in, and sometimes it's just, I was thinking about you today, how you doing? You know, it's important to, in this world, you know, to personalize as much as possible. And I'm going to tell you a secret that some of you might say, wait a minute, did you look at your notes? Well, when I talk to people, I use a database management thing, right? And I would make note of it. Like if you said, well, yeah, my birthday was yesterday, I would immediately go on there and say, okay, James's birthday was December 11th. I would go on there and make note of it. And so little things in your life. Well, I can't meet with you today because my kid's got a soccer tournament. Next time I circle around and say, hey, James, by the way, how'd that soccer tournament work out? Last time I talked to you, your son was in a tournament. You personalize it, right? So it really depends. Everybody's going to give you a different answer. You know, for me, I can, you know, I'm a little seasoned in sales, you know, so I can kind of tell, am I talking to somebody really cold, or if I just kind of circle back around in a different way, will I be able to get their attention? And I just drip them from there. But they get dripped, whether it's personal or business, forever with me.
Yeah.
But I have that automated, okay? So it's forever with me.
I was
until they tell me, go away.
Right. So you would agree that I should call back I've got I was making more friends than just, than doing business in my calls as I reflect back on it.
Well, you've got to have a balance, though, because you are doing business. Yep. So at some point, you've got to evaluate, what am I saying to them? Am I even asking for the sale? Am I even directing them toward a decision? Again, for me, it's the same thing like with faith. I can't just be wishy-washy and, kind of be a nice person and mention my faith. At some point, I have to say, by the way, are you ready to make a decision? At some point, you've got to. Everybody with everything in life needs to be prompted toward a decision, whether it's faith or business, doesn't matter. Most people aren't going to say, hey, by the way, I love that. Will you sell me one? Or, hey, but I love that. Can I be a Christian too? They don't do that. You have to prompt them into that. So you need to look at how you're doing things, and are you actually taking that next step yourself? Because if you're not taking it, they're not going to take it, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but.
It does. It makes total sense. Wade, is there a callback number for this call or recording or no?
Yeah, you know what? We record them and then we put them into the-water-works.com. Tom and Lynette.
Oh gosh, okay. What was that again? Can I be a pain and ask? What was that again? That address?
water-works.com. And when you go there, you go into the contact page and send them your name and your distributor ID and ask for a password, and they'll give you a password, and then you can get into that. And these calls are in there. They try and stay up with them. I'm not sure how current it is right now. And then some of the calls are also taken to Difference Makers Facebook page. So like yesterday's call was transferred to the Difference Makers Facebook page. So great question.
Right, let me just make sure I got what you said. You said the-water-works.com.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
Well, thank you so much. I'll let someone else get here. Lynn, thank you so much. You're awesome.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, we're coming to the end of time. I want to be respectful for time. I know there was still some hands up, but Lynn, I know me and all the Difference Makers want to say happy belated birthday to those that missed today, and 60 is just the starting point, I believe.
Yes.
The word says we get 120. We're just hitting that middle.
That's right. You know what? I wouldn't go back a single day. I really wouldn't. I understand the journey, and there's been a lot of rough spots, but I wouldn't go back. I like who I am. I like the wisdom you get with age, and I'm just beginning. So look out, world.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is every day that's been carved into us is the day that we get to give to someone else, right?
That's right. That's it.
From behind us is something we get to give forward, and so. Lynn, it's such an honor always to have you on, and I know all the Difference Makers speak the same as I do. We love you. We thank you for your time. Sam, if you want to come forward before, and then if there's any one last thing you want to say, Lynn, before you go.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I want to thank you all for allowing me the privilege of giving away my precious time to you and this group. I love you, and I just am so honored. And I want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas, and I look forward to the next year with you. And I just pray you ponder your time as you go toward the end of the year. Thank you for everything, guys.
So good. Sam?
Thank you, Lynn. You have much wisdom to be such a young lady. But what we all love about you, Lynn, is you can feel the love, compassion, and you speak directly from your heart. And I remember the first time I met you years ago, I felt the same thing, and it just gets better and better because you're one of them, Lynn. What you see is what you get, and it's always good. And we love you. Merry Christmas. Happy belated birthday. And
thank you
for being a difference maker.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you, Sam.
All right, Difference Makers, I'm going to open it up for everybody to thank Lynn and wish her a happy belated birthday. And we'll see you guys all on the call tomorrow. Thanks again, Lynn. Let's open it up.
You betcha. My pleasure.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you for your wisdom.